everybody, welcome. Tim Howe here from Motioneer First Class. We are going to be in Figma today for the first time, and we're going to be learning about light mode and dark mode, more specifically variables. Okay, so we're going to be making this awesome thing today, but consider please, if you wouldn't mind, downloading a free font from me just to support the channel, or you can buy a font, even better, but check the description for that stuff. But let's just jump right in. Quick note before we begin, as of the recording this, Google says that variables can be used on a starter plan, but in my experience, some of the students that I work with can't use them. So anyways, maybe this is new and maybe you can use it just fine, but you may need to go create an educational account if you are a student, or you may need to pay to use these features. But if you are a student, you can go to figma.com/education to get verified, and that's what my students do when they want to use these variables. But anyways, I can't guarantee this will work for everybody on a free account. I hope it will, but let's get into it. Okay, dark mode, light mode is a function of variables. Okay, so before I begin though, let's talk about where I got this design from. I just went to Dribble and found this gentleman, and I like the skate app, and so I recreated it. And yeah, I'll probably provide a link to this in case this helps. Copies are found. To be able to copy a file, you can just come up here and go to duplicate. You should say something like duplicate to drafts or something like that if you want to work on this same file. So I can't take credit for the design, but I did make my own version of it, which is more of like a Frisbee golf application instead of a skate app. Okay, so what do we need to know about variables? Well, variables allow us to change things that users want or need. So the most obvious one would be color. Let's say I have a color preference. I always love the color green. I can see a future in which users can just set their color preferences, and everything on their app can change to their favorite color. Okay, instead of companies choosing it for them, right? But in a very simple way, that comes in the form of light and dark mode, which most applications or web apps or browsers even will accommodate, right? But there's other ways that variables can help us, right? We can set up things like rounding of our corners. We could set up things like font preferences, I think, eventually as well. So it's a big, robust thing, but at the very bare minimum level, we need to know about variables so we can design our lights and dark modes in Figma. So let's do so. First thing I'm going to do is grab this left-hand frame, and the way I built it over here on the side is just has a single fill here. And so I am going to add a new fill by clicking the style button. Every time I hit a hotkey, it keeps breaking this. All right, I hope that's better now. All right, so when I want to make a new variable based on this, I'll hit this plus key here. And you'll see now I have the ability to make a style, which is very useful. But in this case, we're learning about variables, so switch over to the variable tab. And what do I want this to be? I want this to be called something like base, right? Because it's my background color. So I'll go ahead and create variable. And now in order to find these, it might be up behind my head here, but there should be a little thing if I click off of everything that says variables, and I can click into the settings button. And now this comes up here. And I think I must have already labeled these earlier, but yours should say something not like this. So it might look like this, and it might just have something like, I don't know what this would say. But we want to have a light and dark mode here, so let's go ahead and set that up. Here in the middle, there's a plus sign. Middle right, I should say. Top right, there's a plus sign. And I'm starting on dark mode. If you're starting on light mode, then you would call this light, and the other one dark, but I'm going to start on dark and go light. And now I need to decide what is the variable of that. What is the other form, the light form that this will take? So I'm going to just throw it all the way to white right now, knowing that I could always come back here and change that. Okay, so let's go and check how that's working. So down in the appearance panel here, at the bottom of our screen, we have the ability to now change our appearance to light or dark modes, because these are the variables I've set. Okay, so when I hit that light mode, you'll see that it jumps right back and forth between dark and light. So it's already working. Isn't that cool? Okay, so be careful though. The farther we go away from the auto mode, the less automatic this stuff is. But for now, I am going to keep it on light, just so I can see the other things that I need. Now, I need to find another variable for some things, but not others. For example, this stuff, this card needs no variable because it's working pretty well. I could decide whether or not I need to change some of this other stuff. You know, maybe this yellow is going to fall off too much, or I could just leave that black background around it. It looks like this gray and maybe these grays down here might work fine, but the whites definitely are not. So let's make a new variable for our text at least, so that when we're on light mode, it changes, right? So I'm going to jump back over to my variables area, and I'm going to create a new variable, and it's going to be a color variable. Okay, and I'm going to call this text, and it's going to be white because that's what these are. And then I probably am just going to grab this kind of off dark blue, I think, and it's not letting me grab it. I think I can grab it from down here. Oops. What's it doing? Well, it's not letting me grab it, so I'll just type it in. 1F1D2A. Okay, so now it's going to go back and forth. So now let's assign one a variable. So I'm going to grab my text now, come down to my fill area here at the bottom right corner, and I will just assign this to be text. And you'll see there's a difference between my circular text styles and my non-circular, my square variables. Okay, and as I'm assigning these, you should see that they're turning a different color. I'll bring these down so you can see it. Let's move down to this next area, and I just kind of know my design. If you're not able to see yours, you might need to adjust some stuff, but I know there's some text in here, so I'm going to click down until I find it. There it is, and then assign that as well to text. Okay, this is working pretty good so far, right? So let's go ahead and toggle now again between my light and dark. So I'm going to find my appearance area. I'm going to select the entire canvas here, and you'll see it's still set to light. And I can toggle it now between light and dark modes. Cool, this is awesome. It is working, and it's going pretty dang fast, right? So I think there's one more thing we need. One more color at least, and then we'll kind of work on the rest. But this tab bar down here is this kind of off gray. You can kind of see that off gray over here. Okay, so let's make another variable for that. Again, we've kind of covered two ways to do that, but I'm going to go down this way to do the first way again. Hit the plus button again, hit the variable, and I don't know, what do we call this time? Let's call this one, I don't know, I'm going to call it card or something. I'm sure there's other things that make sense to you. But for me, this is being used here, it's being used in the message board, it's being used in the tab bar, so I'll just call it card, okay, and that'll make sense to me. Okay, again, I'll click off. I'm going to come into my variable settings again, and I want this to probably be like an off white, right? And you can kind of see over here in the light mode what I'm aiming for. I want some contrast between stuff, maybe a way for those grays to pop out still, so I don't have to add a variable to them, but it's going to cause some other problems that we can solve later. Okay, so from here on, I'm going to kind of pause a while and just kind of apply this to this other screen for now, just so we can get it going, and then we'll learn how to maybe make one last variable for any problem areas we have, like this yellow that I'm having trouble with. And then we'll learn how to switch it from back and forth. Now, as I'm tagging these, you might wonder, like, hey, why isn't it changing, right? So, like, for example, this one here should be tagged as card. But remember, nothing's going to happen until I kind of change this thing to light. And be careful, because in this case, I just changed this thing I've selected to light mode, right? So that's why it's kind of dangerous to keep going crazy on this. If I were you, I would only change the appearance of the entire thing. As you get more comfortable, you can kind of get fancy and fancier. Same here. One thing I could do, if I was confident, I could select this whole screen and just go to my selection colors down here. but I'm not totally confident that I want everything on the page to change. So I'm gonna be a little bit more surgical and kind of get these things changed as I go. Okay, like I said, I'm gonna finish up here and I'll get back with you. Okay, I got this all tagged and I'm pretty happy. I think I'm gonna make one more, actually, it looks like I just noticed this thing here. I'm gonna change this probably to, I think before it was set to the background color here. So I think that means this needs to be set to card. Yeah, because I want it to change back and forth with that. And then my brand color probably also needs a variable. You guys might not have this issue, but I just don't like the way this looks. And my text here needs to be set to text as well. So let's set this to text so it goes dark when this goes light. And let's make one last variable for any brand colors. Now on these other ones, I just kind of opted to keep the yellow on there with the check mark and it's not bothering me. If it bothers you, you can apply this as well. So let's come down to my selection colors. Again, hit plus, again, hit variable. And we'll call this brand color maybe. Okay, and then I got to decide, click off and come to my variables and decide what happens to that brand color. So in my case, I could either go really muddy orange brown, or I have another brand color that's like this kind of bright red. Not usually recommended. So maybe I just stick with like a blue or a black or brown in this case. I can live with that. Okay, yeah, we got it. Okay, so let's go ahead and change this stuff back to auto and just make sure that everything's working right. Okay, so now I have my two versions. Okay, next step though is I want to make a way to switch between these two things. So let's find down here a way to toggle between light mode and dark mode. Okay, so a really simple way to do this would be to grab a couple of circles. Okay, and if I set one of these circles to base, right, which is going to be the background color, and I set the other one to text, which is going to be my light ground color, I should be able to do some of this nonsense, right, where I have the ability to make a moon or to make a sun. Okay, and my sun isn't very convincing, so I am probably going to make maybe a few sun rays or something real quick. But I'll probably pause the video for that sake. But this is the basic component that we're going to make to be able to toggle between our light and dark modes. So give me a minute to add some sun rays, and you can do your own option, your own version. Let me show you guys a little trick here. So I've got my two triangles drawn, and then I made copies. So I just copy and pasted on top of these other two. So if that, I don't know if that makes sense, but I got two copies on top. Just copy, paste. Now I'll grab three of these, and then I'll leave out the middle one. Leave out the top two, and then I'm just going to rotate this slightly around that circle. I like that. So again, copy paste, grab the middle, rotate that around, again, copy paste, and finally rotate that around. Okay, so there's my sunshine. I think I like where it is in the structure, and I will need to hide them when I make my component next. All right, so let's do that. I'm going to grab both of these things. They're a little bit big for me, so let's go down a little bit smaller so it's a little more tactfully placed. And I'm going to drag this up and out because I'm going to make a component out of it. All right, making components. So up here in the top right corner, you may have a baseball diamond or you may not. I'm going to find mine under this ellipsis here and say create component. Okay, let's go ahead and name some stuff while we're at it. This is no longer component 1. This is going to be my dark mode or whatever we're going to call it. It could be called light mode 2. And the properties that this has are non-existent until I hit this plus button. And then I'm going to want one of these to be called a dark mode. So go ahead and label that. And I'll have one of these be called my light mode. Actually, I'm going to change that to sun and moon just so I don't mess my brain up, because it's actually going to be opposite, right? I'm going to hit the sunshine on dark mode to make it go light, and I'm going to hit the moon on light mode to go dark. Anyway, so I'm just going to call it sun and moon, and we'll just rename this state. All right, so now I have a dark mode thing with a sun and moon state inside of it. Okay, so let's close off on the moon state. We just need to click in here, close off that thing so it becomes a moon. You could actually play with this and make it bigger if you wanted to, so it's kind of a cuter moon, or you can make it smaller so it's more of a dramatic moon. Okay, and I'm pretty happy with that. The other thing I want to change is I want to get rid of these sun rays. So I'm just going to select all of them. I'm thinking. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm feeling fancy today. I can't explain it. So I'm actually going to scale these in instead of getting rid of them. Is that true? It is, but that also means I need to bring them below my moon. And it also means that these also are going to go below. So I'm going to bring this out further and bring this above. Okay, now if you just wanted to hide them by making them transparent, you can easily just select them over here and go into the opacity panel that is slightly off screen. They're going to let me go down. The opacity panel over here and just kind of make them disappear. But I think I like this idea of them doing something a little fancier, okay? So let's set up the animation, and by the time we bring it back in, we should have a functioning dark mode button. Okay, under the prototype tab at the top right of your screen, we are going to start dragging things together. So in a case like this, I want, when I click on this thing, so let's drag it over here, it says on tap. I want to change to the moon. That makes a lot of sense. But I also want to smart animate that, okay? And that's fine, easy out. But I think if I did like something like gentle, I might get a better result. So I'm going to stick with gentle for now. And it's going to change that moon, perfect. But I also want to do something else. I want to have another thing happen. And that's what I want to set a variable mode. Now this won't exist if you didn't set up those other steps. But I'm trying to think what I want here. When I hit the sunshine, I want it to turn light. That makes tons of sense to me. So I'm done now. Okay, but let's go back the other direction now. So I'll grab my moon state. I'll drag it back up. On tap, change to the sun. Yes, with a gentle animation. Perfect. And then I want to add a new interaction, which is set variable mode. But this time I want to change it to dark mode. Perfect. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring out, as kind of our final step here, I'm going to bring out an instance. There should only be one created in this file, and that's the one you made. But go ahead and hit your file over where it says file. You'll hit your assets. You'll create one thing here, and you'll drag this out and into your scene, and then into your thing. Now, if you're having this problem where it's like overshooting your search icon, go ahead and hit the left bracket arrow, and you can send that to the back really quickly. Okay, so if I did this right, I'm gonna hit play now. And I should be able to now click this light mode button, and it should adjust to light mode. Now it looks like because I didn't set those, let me think about this. Yeah, so I think I also need to set my sun rays up. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not able to see them kind of do their thing because they just pop on and off. So not as cool as I thought it would be, but that's okay. So, but I do probably want to go in here. I'm gonna grab all of my sun rays and do the thing that I should have just done in the first place, which is make them all invisible. So I'm gonna turn them all down to 0 opacity as they kind of enter into the sun, so that they're not seeable on the sun when it gets clicked. Okay, back to my golf app. It is working. Now, if you did this right, we should be able to go to this other scene and the mode should stay the same. Now, if you're having issues or if it's not working for you, most likely the problem, oh yeah, now it's animating really nicely. Yeah, I like that a lot better. Most likely the problem is you have one of your screens not set to auto. That's the most common problem that we come across here. So troubleshoot-wise, just make sure that your appearance is not being forced, right? You need it to be set to auto, and you can, remember, you can set anything to a non-auto state. So if something, for example, this thing is not doing what you want it to, it's probably because you've manually set it to light or manually set it to darkness, right? And so no matter what you do, it's not gonna follow the path of everybody else. So in this case, it worked out fine, but I'm guessing if I go to dark mode, it will not be fine. Whoops. My dark mode got broken. There we go, dark mode. Okay, yeah, so it's broken. So anyways, any problem you have, just make sure you double check that it's all set to auto, and you shouldn't have that problem. Oh my gosh, we did it. We made light and dark mode with one single component. So easy. Okay, all that about does it. Again, consider supporting the channel by liking and subscribing, and we'll see you next time.